So just we're
Hey,
live.
everybody, we are live, and I'm excited because this is a seminal moment in the history of my channel where I've had not one, not two, but three candidates for Oakland City Council District 3 together at once. And the idea was brought by Michelle, who's Hailey, who's not really a candidate, although originally planned to be. And we communicate quite a bit on Twitter offline. Shan Hirsch, Shan, welcome. Great to
Hi,
meet you. You got it.
likewise.
Last but
Yes.
certainly not least, my brother who has no fear of gray hair as I do. Hey, Baba, pronounce your last name because I don't want to screw it up.
Afolabi.
Afolabi. That's a beautiful name, man. Baba
Yes.
Afolabi. Welcome, everybody. And Michelle, hey, why don't you kick off this great idea that you had?
Well, it came to us because of the fact that we really haven't had a real opportunity to one have a platform where we could speak and speak to people, and because I think a lot of people think of this race as it only being between two candidates, being Warren Logan and Carol Fife, but there are actually Marin, who is also running. We can't seem to catch up with him, but we've been pretty faithful in terms of our reason for running and wanting to have a voice at the table. And I had wanted to do this some time ago, but then it became an urgency, I think, to just let people know that there are other choices, and to talk about this process and being candidates that, by no fault of our own, end up with no financial support, because of people basically that, decisions. You always have the incumbent, but then decisions are made of who the moneyed interests are going to support. And so this is a wonderful platform. Zenny has been a friend when I met him when Derek Johnson ran for at-large, and we started communicating then, and then it's just no one better that represents the city and is an old sage, and
Oh,
knows. Yes, of course. And it's just a perfect platform, I think, to have us speak to why we ran, why we here, why we still fight for the city that we love. And so with that, I'll just tell you, I'm Michelle Hailey. I am on the ballot. I didn't get a chance to run the way I wanted to because of my mother being sick. I think we all have at this time in our life, we end up being caretakers to our parents. I certainly don't regret it. I don't regret running, because I learned a lot about the city and a lot about myself. And I think within this race, I felt like I found my voice and my purpose. And I just want an Oakland that works for everyone. One of the biggest things that I speak to is that there are two, it feels like two Oaklands, and there's the experience above 980 and then the experience below 980. And they're materially different. While they keep extrapolating all of our property taxes from us, but we have nothing to see in terms of, we live with the most encampments, we live with the food desert, we live with the lack of resources, and lack of resources for elders, and it goes on and on and on. So that was why I got in the race, to speak to. And then, of course, lastly, being a small Black property owner is been just brutal under the current leadership. So that was my reason. And so I'll let any of the others introduce themselves, and we can go on and have this great conversation.
And also, same question to Shan and Baba. Why did you get in the race, and what have your experiences been, thus far? And then once we get to the experiences, we can use the experience to take the second leg of the conversation from there. Go ahead, Shan.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Shan Hirsch. I've been in District 3. No, I'm running because I love District 3. I've been here for 3 decades. and I want to see a change. I have what I have worked at every school in District 3 with my kids. I have worked at the city hall. I started with this politics with Ron Dillon was in office.
Wow.
With Ron Dillon to Gene Kwan to Libby Shepp. So I have been under the experience of all of them. I do not like the way that they're running. I do not like the way that they have divided District 3. I was in a meeting and it was told to me that we are considered as lower D. I didn't understand that. So then I asked, what do lower D mean? And it says, Miss Shan, lower bottom, acorn, that type of area beneath us. So I asked, what was number 1, 2, and 3? And it was told to me that Adams Point was number 1, Chinatown number 3, and Uptown number 2. So I said, what about District 3? How are we dividing the areas now? So now what I was told yesterday in a meeting that they changed it. So I never got a chance to ask Michelle or Baba did they know about this. That they say they changed uh the wording to District 3 and to Lower D. So I've been working with the kids, working with the elders, working with the homeless. We just need to make a change. Like I
And
said, I met Michelle, I met Baba. I have fell in love with their ideals. Fell in love with their passion because
mhm,
their passions feel like mine. And I
mhm,
know they want the same thing that I want, change. I,
mhm.
it's hard because I love West Oakland. And I just need to get out here. We need to get out here and do the work that we need to do for District 3. Like I told them, I'm for Lower Bottom, LD as they consider. I'm for Adams Point. I'm for Chinatown. I'm for what they say,
L.
no, the Uptown area. So, and like I explained, I'm working with all nationality. I'm just not working with one race. African American, Chinese, Black, Mexican, whoever it might be that need my help in District 3. I am here. I am here to work for District 3, not a certain area. I don't understand. I'm done because I could go on and on and on. So
I know.
go ahead,
Uh,
Baba.
no doubt. Thank you for that question. I'm not sure if you look at my platform. I'm a business owner. I've been living in Oakland since '98. I'm a second generation immigrant in Oakland. I used to live on Market and 14th Street, Oak Village, right there on the corner of Brush and 14th Street. So what prompted me to run as somebody that's been building business in downtown in the last decade, I've done about 3 different businesses. What I realized is that Oakland does not prioritize small businesses. And when I say small businesses, I'm not talking about bars and restaurants only. I'm talking about your law firms, the family-owned law firm, the clinics, family-owned clinics, the CPA, tax preparer, all these small businesses that are in within D3. And District 3, pretty much 80% of the businesses that operate in Oakland operate in District 3. So we are the tax base, the large part of the tax base of Oakland. Uh, Talking about the amount of commercial properties here, which pay the lion's share of the property tax. Talking about the businesses, which pay the lion's share of the property tax. Talking about sales tax, which is where everybody come to congregate, which also pay lion's share of the property tax. So when I look at the city all, and I took these raised like it's a MBA project, like it's my capstone. And I did my research 20 years down, and I see how systemically, by policy, we have eliminated the value of small businesses. And I said, given that 99% of the business in Oakland are small businesses, why are we not prioritized? And one of the biggest initiative, which was that Measure T, I believe, that was done last election, was their way of saying, oh, we care for small businesses. But look, the measure was to tax bigger businesses, so-called big business. But when you look at it, Oakland only has 0.3% of big business. So as a metropolitan city, that's already a failure. So we're supposed to be looking at how do we bring more businesses so that they can feed into the small businesses so that we can expand our tax base. And that's probably one of the reasons why we've had a lot of businesses left. The so-called, Kaiser is moving their employees to Pittsburgh now. There's a lot of that happening. There's a lot of development that could have happened that's not happening. And you and I know the reason why places like Texas and Atlanta and all these places are being able to survive is giving tax breaks to big businesses to come in, because they understand the big fish have to eat for the small fish to eat. So talking to a few people in the city hall, I realized that they don't get it. And a lot of them come from the background of nonprofit, which I'm not against nonprofit. But one of the biggest problem with nonprofit is also you rely on grants, which these grants, federal or state or local, comes from big businesses. They pay to the port, that part for them to pay you. So that's one of the reasons why I'm running. And the another component is really to understand that we don't care about our youth. I'm a father of two. My kids are 9 and 5, and I'm looking at 10 years. What is Oakland going to look like for them? Because in 10 years, my daughter is going to be 19, getting out of high school, going into college. She's going to need a place to stay if she decided to leave home. Will she be able to rent a studio in Oakland? Probably not. Where is she going to work? Will she feel safe working in any of these? As you all know, 18, 19-year-old, you probably going to work in restaurants and, working, if you're lucky, because I'm now of the community, I'll probably be able to hook her up with some jobs, But there's a lot of fathers that doesn't have the same opportunity that I do.
That's right. That's
Right? So
That's
how do we
That's
ensure
right.
that we care about these youth, that in 10 years, the next generation of youth that's going to become an adult, what are we doing to safeguard them into adulthood that they're proud of Oakland, that they find themselves in? Because I can guarantee you, if we keep going like this, the 19, 18-year-old that's going to be going off, that's going to be getting out of high school, are not going to be able to afford this city. And we wonder why we have this vicious cycle of crimes happening or people moving out of Oakland. I have people that I know are born and raised. 3 of my siblings are born and raised in Oakland. One of them live in LA. One of them is moving to South Carolina. And it's because it's just so hard to buy a house. It's just so hard to even rent. So that's my spiel on why I'm running, to really get City Hall to understand that we need to take care of the small businesses so that it can take care of everything else. By the way, the 58% of the people that are homeless today said it's because they did not have money, and it's because they lose their job. Of course, because they always make it seem like, oh, they, on drug or they're alcoholic.
Yeah, right.
No,
No.
people use the vices to cope when they know that they cannot take care of themselves.
Right.
People drink, people use drugs. Like we all know, lawyers and doctors on the high level do more drugs than anybody else on the street.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
that's just the reality. So when they start making it seem like homeless people is because, or unhoused people is because they are on drugs, I said no. The statistics show 16% are people that are drug related, 12% are alcohol related. I think 15% is violent related. So the large portion of that is economic issues. 58% says it's because they did not have money to pay their rent. So, and who hire people like this? Small businesses hire them. So this is why I said we need to really take care of our small businesses. If we take care of small businesses, all of these problems will be will be limited. Of
Will
course,
go away.
pandemic
Yeah.
exacerbated a lot of our
Yeah.
problems. And it's because we didn't get
Yeah.
ahead of. As I always said, you cannot get ahead of something you do not control. We never have a
That's right.
control over how we build, like you were, how we build housing, affordable housing. We never control how we create jobs. We never control how we ensure that small landlords feel comfortable in this ecosystem. So if we do not have things in place, measures in place to make sure that we control all these key components, how the hell do we expect ourselves to get ahead of it? You can't. You
That's right.
can't.
That's right. You
A
can.
car without brakes is going to run free because you did not take care of the
Mm-hmm.
brakes.
That's right.
So
Hey, by
let
the
me
way,
yield.
by the way, I found a
Yeah.
map of District 3 and the other districts I thought I presented. It's pretty big, isn't it?
It is big. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the big.
Yeah.
It is big.
Yeah, and that's the final from 2022, by the
Yeah,
way.
they changed
Yeah.
that.
And yet you can see if I zoom in more here toward it, and I then center it, and it doesn't want to be centered, does it? Well, that's going the wrong way. Let me try something. There we go. Okay, that's better. All right. Then you can see that Adams Point is still a part of it, but most of it is West Oakland. For anyone to think that it's off, the one part that isn't part of it anymore is downtown. Downtown has been, downtown
It's been given to District 2.
Yeah, I gave it to District 2, and that's
Yeah.
a far cry from how it was decades ago, even recently. Now it was
Yeah.
District 3. So now,
Yeah.
and that was, I remember the last council member that had say over anything that happened in downtown was really Lynette, because Carol kind of cut herself off from that, like for example Howard Terminal. But that's a big change. I want to know what you all thought about not so much just that, but also how is my question to you all is, how is District 3 changing? And as council member, if you're elected, what would you do about it? I think, it's an open-ended question, because, people always come up with things you don't expect to hear when you ask an open-ended question. So there you go. You want Michelle?
Well, I think in terms of District 3,
and can I add something too? If I ask a question, but there's something you want to pick up on where you started before, go with that. It's a conversation, sure. Right? So I didn't want things to be so controlled that people feel clicked. That's not my style.
Okay.
And not yours either. Anyway.
Oh, no worries. I do want to pick up on, because I've been doing a lot of work as it relates to the homeless and encampment, and I was doing that work prior to me even getting in the race, and it's absolutely startling and stunning, because it's an enormous amount of mental illness. Okay, and then the housing that was lost for a lot of these affordable projects were actually formerly SROs. So that in terms of even people that were kind of on the margins, they had housing, because all along, even all along San Pablo and in different parts of the downtown area, those were all single bedroom places. And if you had a general aid check and it was $600 or $700, you had a room and you had a roof over your head for about $200-300 a month. All of those properties have been swallowed up by what they consider affordable housing development and some market rate development. And I think we have to begin to have a conversation also about what is affordable housing when it's $1 million a door. Mm-hmm. And so we have these projects that are an actual builder. It might cost him $500,000 a door. What is going on with these nonprofits and these organizations where they are front loading these deals so much that they cost $1 million a door? Once they exit, then the person is left behind. They have to beg all year, all the rest of the existence of that development to try to keep it afloat. It has to rely, again, here we have, on grants, HUD, all these different metrics of funding. So as our revenue continues to dwindle, because quite frankly, I don't see this city and this council at all as saying that it hasn't said that Oakland is open for business. I mean, there needs to be a declaratory statement, like one, that Oakland is ready to rebuild. We're open for business, and secondly, and you know, also this is it today. Crime, theft will be addressed. It is not welcome here. We support businesses. I mean, they need to. I mean, there needs to be that declaratory statement that as of today, we're turning the page. Like they say, we're not going back. No, we don't want to go back to what we're experiencing right now. And so I look at District 3 in terms of I have felt really almost as if we're becoming invisible. Those of us who really have so much treasure and people that died and blood that was shed in these streets from whether it was crack or crime. And now that this place has become a somewhat of a utopia for a lot of different people that love that come here, and they come here and they quickly do quite well. How and why? And when the citizens here, the residents here, can't seem to even get in the room to be heard. So we have a city that relies on nonprofits. We have a council and leadership that has most have never wrote a check. They've never owned their own businesses. Some never really were from here, and don't frankly. I mean, I don't have a problem with people being ambitious, but I think that folks kind of wanting to make career moves and kind of landing in Oakland and utilizing this as their stepping stone because when they're ambitious like that, then they're not willing to make the tough decisions that need to be made because they're afraid of those same people that fund them throwing them out of office. And we face really tough headwinds, and we need leadership that has the moral courage to now make decisions for Oakland, not for their own political interests, not for the special interests that are funding them. Because I can tell you, the interest and the funding is incongruent to the well-being of the citizens of Oakland right now. And, you know, I have said that also in many forums that, you know, it was absolutely criminal that they kept the city hall closed and kept and let city workers work remotely for over 3+ years. That
Yep.
us, the small property owners, were not allowed to collect rent for 3.5 years, full well knowing they still even made us wait another 90 days, knowing that the money had been gone for over a year and a half. The money was given to nonprofits, tenant organizations that actually just have very punitive relationships with us, and so they spent the money to get the money out the door. I mean, you just can't. Every single move that you can look at how this leadership has moved, everything has been punitive, whether it's towards business, whether it's towards owners, and invariably it's going to be towards tenants too, because if people get foreclosed, if small people like me lose my property, I rent to people who look like me. I rent to a woman that will look like me that may have been evicted, such as me and my mother was so many times when I was a young woman. I can read through a story. I don't have to have a credit report and have you pass through a matrix. I can look at your heart and know that you're going to be okay and give you the same chances that somebody gave me. And if we're thrown out of the mix, the whole heart and soul of the culture, and like I say, the heartbeat, the rhythm that drives people here. They don't know why they come here, but it's because of people like me, because of people like Bob and Shan that have sacrificed so much in the shadows. And we can't even be a part of. I come out and my blocks are cut up, like these cutlets, these cutouts, and all of these things that are destroying the neighborhood. I mean, I understand that there's this whole new road diet rage and what have you, but we're not being a part of the conversation at all. And I think that that's the biggest thing about D3 is that so much is happening in a vacuum, and it's not transparent. It's not happening with the residents. In particular, I'd say this here right now. they need to put some respect on what they call lower D. All right, put some respect on it, because if it weren't for lower D, you wouldn't have had Graham Central Station. You wouldn't have had
Right.
all of these incredible. You wouldn't have had the Black Panther movement. You know, lower
Yeah.
D created the Oscar Micheaux Black Filmmaker Awards. So
Right.
so I'm gonna, you asked, I said, and I'm gonna let it go from there, because obviously it's hit a nerve for me. But I think the biggest change is that it's no collaboration. It's a lot of new energy, and it's a arrogance that we don't matter. That's how I feel. It's quite personal for me.
I agree. I
Hey,
agree.
Shan, you're up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
You're up.
Hello.
Can you
Yeah.
hear
Oh,
me?
I'm
We
up.
can hear you.
Yeah. We want to hear from you.
How is D3 changing? I'm going to answer that. How is it divided? I kind of that's a good question, because like Michelle stated, and Baba, the reason why I think it's changing and it's dividing is because who we have in leadership and why they wants to divide it. All these Adam Point, Uptown, and all these different areas. I'm a Lord D girl. I'm a Lord D girl. 10th and center. Um, so I love Lord D. I'm gonna
Mhm,
fight for Lord D till I can't fight no more. Do I like the change? No, I do not, because that making everybody be divided. When I
mhm.
speak to people and I ask them, do you know about Lord D? And there's so many people is offended by that word, Lord D. So
And
like I
I
said,
know,
why couldn't we be
yeah,
higher D, or why couldn't we be medium D? Why we had to be Lord D?
yeah. I had never heard it before. And
Well, I
who
I heard that it was changed. So I heard it was changed yesterday when I brought it up.
oh,
And they
okay.
say, "Oh, you didn't know they changed it?" I said, "No, I didn't know who changed it." And
Who
they
changed it?
words were, they said the white people. I said, "Oh, okay." They said because black people do not come out, they do not voice their opinion, and they do not vote. I said, "So were you there? And you black, and you didn't say nothing about it, and you said you from Lower D? Well, I stand uptown now." Oh, okay, understand. So to make a long story short, I'm good.
Shan, I want
What would
names. Who
I
was stupid
do?
enough to say that? I want names.
I know.
Right.
I want to give you guys names too, and we could do that off the record. Um, what will I do differently if I win? First of all, I will build affordable housing. I deal with the homeless people 3 times out of the week. Um, I deal with the one on Mandela. I deal with the one on Martin Luther King. I deal with the one on St. Pablo. And I'm out there every day talking to them. I even put homeless people that were staying back there on Mandela in the little dog shacks, I call them.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put a couple of people in hotels because 2 of the people had pneumonias, and one of them has been eaten by rats. So I put them up, but then they try to take advantage of me and use me and stay in there extra. So I had to do some extra stuff to get them out. So is everybody leaving?
I'm here. I'm here. It's recorded. Michelle can hear us.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So
They had to.
boys with
They
them.
had to just. They were talking so vociferously. They had to wipe the drool off their faces, and so that's why they closed the camera down. That's what happened.
That's it.
So well, I have to be as real as I could get. because I am tired of all the phony people. I am tired of all, like I said, no, I am not perfect. I'm long from perfect. But one thing I do know that I love District 3, and I'm going to fight for District 3. So whoever, like I said, this ain't no competition. This is all who going to do right by my community, who going to do right by District 3. So all the money that everybody is getting and doing this and that, I don't care about that money. No, I don't have no money, but I got the heart to fight for District 3. And so if you want to play the game with the money and do all that, then you do that. And I'm going to get my people, because whoever get in there, if you don't do right by District 3, I'm coming. So you could say whatever, you could do whatever, you could feel however you want to feel. But I'm going to make sure that you take care of my district. If you want to be in position, you want to be a good leader, then show me. And I'm kind of done with that, because like I said, I could go on and on, but I would like to give everybody a chance to speak. But whatever anybody want to ask me about District 3 or how I feel or what I'm doing, I'm always available. I put my number on every flyer I make, so you could call me. Any city councilor, any person in the city of Oakland office. Like I said, I've been doing this since Ron Dillon been in office, and I'm tired of it. So, Baba, you next.
Yes.
Yep.
Can you repeat the question again? But I think
Yeah,
I have
sure.
an idea.
Yeah, how has District 3 changed from your perspective?
So, I mean, when I came into Oakland on the back of, I've been here through, I think the last leg of Jerry Brown. I definitely experienced um, Ron Denham. I experienced, so you can guess other uh, mayors that I've experienced. I think I felt like even though there's a lot of new building, and unfortunately, a lot of people will see that as progress. But the reality is there's a lot of social element that's deteriorating. And I'm a big proponent of youth, right? I see more and more kids being disconnected from what it is. It's Oakland. You know, I mean, we can talk about when they announced, I think it was before pandemic, about closing 13 schools, right?
Yep.
So that's a huge proponent. I mean, I go on, Mosswood Park. I go on Lowell Park. I go even the other day we are at the Deformery, and I see how deteriorating all these landmark centers are looking. It's indicative of the leadership. It's indicative of how we're not taking care of our community, right?
Yep.
Even on Monday, I was at a city center and I'm seeing cracks on on the building itself. I see how dirty it is. Like there's literally urine and residues on the floor in front of city council, is city hall. So I see the change, the physical change that is deteriorating. Oakland is not being upkeep. Then when you look at the society, it's deteriorating as well because I can think back 10 years when you have businesses that cannot last 10 years. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can really point to a lot of legendary, we can talk about the oldest library that just moved out of Uptown to Old Oakland. Thankfully, they do. You can. I forgot the one on MLK that's been sustained by the community. So when you look at all these points, you see that we're not really progressing. We're not. There's one thing they said: a rocking chair can make movement, but doesn't, can rock, but doesn't make any progress because you're gonna be stagnant. I think that's what is happening. We continuously have all these initiatives, but doesn't translate to a real scaling up what Oakland should be. And the challenge now we face is when pandemic happened, it exacerbated all our underlying ugliness. That's what pandemic did. I've heard a lot of people trying to pin all of this on pandemic. I'm like, no, pandemic happened and gone. This is the underbelly ugliness of Oakland that we're seeing now, the inadequacy of the leadership. that we're seeing, because there's no way we're coming out of pandemic and you don't know that your priority is ensuring that small landlords are taken care of after you have a referendum that said they should not pay them. There's no way we're coming out of pandemic with all the PPP loan that was squandered to now understand that businesses are struggling to say, okay, how do we get ahead of that to bring them back? The city hall was not, that people did not return to work. I don't even think they fully returned up to today.
They haven't.
The city hall was they were working from home, and they are the largest employee in downtown. So if you don't bring back that foot traffic, how do you expect the private sector to do the same? How do you expect Kaiser to bring their employee? How do you expect Blue Sheet to bring their employee? How do you expect Axe.com or Square to bring back their employee when you, the public, the civil servants are not back in office? So in that aspect, Oakland is not changing for the better. It's changing for the worse.
I have a question for everybody for this round. First of all, what are you hearing from the people when you tell them, hey, you're running for office? What do you hear them say to you first? And then, this is quasi-related to that in a weird way. I personally find that there is an inordinate number of people who work for us, the city, in policy positions that don't know or care to read documents that are wordy, that are complex legislation, and that wasn't always the case. And what I find is that we have a city of people ran by people. They don't seem to really not just know how to solve problems, but be interested in solving them. Okay, so I'll just take it from there. Michelle, first of all, the two questions basically: what are you hearing from people? What do they tell you when you say you're running? And then also, what do you think about my observation that we have a city that doesn't seem to even want to try to solve a problem?
The first thing I hear is, really, you're running. They don't know because we don't have any access or venue to let people know that we're running.
Yep.
That's the first thing that I hear. It's if you were someone, the average person, you'd only think Carol and Warren Logan were running. Yep. But there's many more of us, and there's no opportunity given other than a few random forums to actually get your message out. So that's the first thing I hear. And then I hear that I'm so proud and you have my vote, and I'm so glad that finally someone that's actually from here, someone that's a neighbor, someone that has really known, like for instance, I know that there's a block here in my house where unfortunately the Quiet Street program that was there, I mean in the block over, her turned into NASCAR where she lives. Her house was rammed, vehicles during the pandemic, her house was rammed into almost 3 different times. So when you have that intimate knowledge of the city from a real rooted background, you already can begin to troubleshoot things. You're not coming from like some wonky policy point, that you have real-time experience. And I'm not saying that those things cannot be valuable. They can, but it's more valuable to know where these problems have existed and where these things have went wrong a long time ago. I, for one, worked for the city on Parks and Recreation. I forget because it was a while ago, but I worked under Elihu's last term. So I actually worked when we were delivering services. I don't think anyone's worked in the city that's running for office or in office when we were actually functioning and delivering municipal services.
I was Elihu's economic advisor.
No, but that's right, and that's one of the reasons. And what people don't know is the city center, all of these things that we see and that we come to love, that all happened under Elihu Harris and Zinni. Yeah. So, thanks. Yeah, absolutely.
And I do proudly say that my name is on the plaque at the bottom of the rotunda, basically.
Yeah, but you have to. It's one thing that I think the biggest thing is that not just do they not read or know all of the nuances. I mean, not reading is what got us this horrific waste management contract. Not
Yeah.
reading is how we ended up with being sued by coal when they already had said coal could come through. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Well, can I
However
just
people
chime
feel
in real
about
quick
mail.
there, Michelle? I mean, just want to take a little privilege.
Okay.
It's not a just FYI to everybody. The Oakland Bulk Oversized Terminal has been in Oakland's history since '86 when Bay Seaport plants said we need a bulk terminal. It's not a coal terminal. Coal terminals have acreage. Here's how I became a coal terminal. Pat Cashman was the project manager, the guy that hired me to work for the city in '85. Turned around, hired an organization called the Tioga Group to evaluate what kind of market commodity the coal terminal, or the bulk terminal should be handling, right? The Tioga Group pointed to coal, then looked at Phil Tagami's group because it was Phil's idea. Why was it Phil's idea? Because Phil, first of all, the Army base said, hey, look, we're going to give this up to you guys, find a developer, but the developer has to make sure that the jobs that are there are the same low-skill, well-paying jobs that the Army base had. That was the major criteria for the government, federal government. So Phil thought, hey, look, I'll use the old base idea of the bulk terminal. That's how it started. But in terms of the commodity mix, nobody knew. Or, right? Pat hired the Tioga Group. They said coal. But they also said in the same document that Phil Tagami's group was not experienced to do it. Pat basically is trying to push Phil out. Phil turned the whole thing around, got a new guy, John Siegel. I begged to because Phil's been my friend since 31 years. I begged to have International Inside Terminal Solutions as a client. Why? Because there were like 6 different court documents. The city of Oakland was preventing this from seeing the light of day of the public. I wanted to get them. Yeah. One of them was the Tioga report, which no one had seen. Okay. So the city crafted this story that it didn't know about coal until after 2015. That, folks, is a doggone lie. Okay.
Exactly.
It's a total lie. All right.
Yeah.
Total lie. So then they pay the Oakland side to basically, throw up this lie through progressive PR people and set 5 different council members that in late 2022 were at a party to give Oakland side money because Oakland side was running out of money. All right. That's the truth. Okay. So it's a bulk terminal.
I feel like Oakland side is the eighth council member.
Yeah, well, Oakland side is a racist organization. I have no respect for Lance Noble.
Yeah,
He's a CEO.
they
None.
literally, simply because it's just uncanny how they are always working in tandem and always have access to things before the public does, and then it always has the slant only goes in one direction.
Right, because they get hired they pay by progressive organizations. That's why. And they're a 501c3 that if they were black would have been shut down. Why? Because they do partisan stories that is against IRS law. Okay. Nonprofit news should not be involved in politics. Same for the Daily Cal that endorses. Just letting you know. They let these folks get away with murder, and Rob is like, it's kind of the undercurrent is like, well, it's okay if they're white. It's not okay. And when Darwin was bugging me and I pushed back on him and filed a complaint, I discovered that Lance Noble was basically making him and them, do that to me because I contacted them. Okay. I do not like these people. And I don't like this, like holding up a white-owned media all the time. This system needs to be destroyed and started all over again. Sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Everything. And so I'll just button up, again, everybody has the blood on their hands of allowing this remote work. The only departments that are still open are those that collect revenue. If they didn't collect revenue, they wouldn't be open either. There was a reporter trying to get a story when the awful shootout that happened during Juneteenth, and the entire, and it's on social media. There was nobody here. Nobody, just the security guards. And it was that became the story. Like literally, there was nobody, not a council member. She's just walking through and it's a ghost town. And so their response, we all know that all those ancillary businesses, I worked at the credit union. Before I left the city, I went over to OMCU. And our lunch breaks were everything. I mean, to my dry cleaning, the shoes, clothes, retail, restaurants, all of those things.
Yeah.
Without, we as taxpayers are paying, I mean, an incredible amount of salaries to these folks. So now we don't even get the benefit. They're at home. They're not here in Oakland. So they're in Walnut Creek or wherever they are.
Yeah, 80% of them live outside of Oakland.
Getting that much money. And then what do? They come back and want property taxes. They always want parcel taxes. I mean, it's unsustainable. And then we have so many people that are renters. And I have nothing against renters, but because of the propaganda that's been put forth, it is a zero-sum game that everything else, capitalism, everything as it relates to how to function in a normal society is now evil. And so it's so much, like you said, that in terms of tearing something down, how it's so much that needs to be fixed, because we have a situation now where they don't, I mean, like they don't, no one likes capitalism. No one likes people that own property that rent to other people. No one likes developers. No one likes, I mean, and it's just like, no one likes people that live in Piedmont. No one likes, hedge funders. No one likes, so when you scrap all that down, what's left? Shit.
Nothing.
I mean,
Nothing.
how does a normal society live? What's next? We don't like toilet paper? I mean, I mean, what else can we start to dislike? They don't want cars. They're making it where we don't have no gas stations. You got park. I mean, so I don't know.
You gotta ride bikes. You gotta ride bikes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you gotta ride bikes and no groceries and no nothing and please, I mean, I don't know. They dislike everything.
Grow your own food in your backyard.
Yeah,
grow your own food in your backyard.
I'm trying to do that because they don't apparently like for us to have grocery stores, so I'm gonna have to do that too. I mean, so, hey, that's that. I'll let somebody else, because I certainly took a lot of time.
Shan, you're up, Shan.
Okay. So, question: what do people say when they knew that I was running? A lot of people from District 3 was very excited because, like Michelle said, Shan, you've been here. You've been doing the work. Why you ain't been running? I was like, because I ain't had no money. I don't have no, And so a lot of people was excited about it because, like I said, I ran the teen center for over 12, 13 years. I had over 80 kids. I gave the youth something to do. I was involved with all the schools in District 3. Like I said, I have 11 grandkids, so I'm always involved. I'm always trying to unite the community together because as of now, family is not connecting like it used to be. So if family not connecting, that makes the community, because most time family go to the community. So a lot of people was very excited when I told them I was running and what took me so long. And I told them I had no money. So question number 2 was people that's in the city office not trying to solve problems. I believe because they don't want to solve the problem. I believe that they want to do exactly what they want to do, have it exactly like they want to handle it, and make us get on board with them and do what they say do. They don't want to
Shan, I got to ask you a quick question. Does that does that mean that Renia Webb was not lying when she told that Shang Tao had sex parties? Does that mean that Renia Webb, who worked for Shang Tao, was not lying to me when she said that Shang was having sex parties in her office?
Every time you talking, it breaks up.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Does that mean? Did you hear me say that? Does that mean that Renia Webb was not lying to me when, in the middle of dropping the story to me, that Chang wanted Shang Tao fired before she got sworn in. Okay, that she also told me that Shang was having sex parties in their office.
Oh, well, I don't know about if that was going on or not.
That's what she told me.
I-
And the reason why I say that in this position is because of all of our universal agreement that the city isn't doing its job and not reading. So what the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
Wait a minute, hold
oh, no,
on. I
go
don't
ahead.
know what's going on because every time you speak, it starts like rattling or something. I don't know if
Oh,
they trying to cut you off or something.
I,
You hear? Do you guys hear it?
I can hear you.
I can hear
No,
you,
do you?
but when Zenny speaks,
Yeah.
is that better for me? Is that better?
Oh, it's a little too.
Is what?
there's an
There's an
echo.
echo.
Oh, oops. Hold on.
It might
It
be
might
two
be two
devices.
devices.
Oh,
You got it?
Much
It's better
better.
now.
okay.
Much better.
So maybe we should mute when we're not talking, and will that help the echo, Zenny? Or are we good?
I'm fine. Hey, you guys are the
No, I
boss.
think it probably he has other device that's on. That's
Oh,
when
okay. I think we're good.
Oh.
I think we're good. Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, this
Okay.
doesn't have it on it though, so I don't know. I'll just move this. You know what?
Okay.
Can I go?
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't read.
So, I mean, when I tell people I'm running, of course, the same thing, they're excited, and also the fact that I'm a business person. The first thing they said is, yeah, there's no business. We need a business-minded person in the office. So those are the two things that I get a lot. And yes, just the short answer is a lot of time again, when you look at people in the background in the city hall, you have to look at their background, like where do they come from, to
Yeah.
understand while the solution doesn't meet what they're trying to do. Again, I always say this, as a human being, we're always gonna miss something, but it's how you react, right? One of the things that I know that a lot of people have said is the accountability of what is happening. They haven't heard it from the mayor. They haven't heard it from any council member
Right.
because they were not taking accountability of the fact that businesses are dropping out of Oakland like it's a firecracker.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that one of the things that I always say the trigger of all of this was when the police officer, when the chief was fired, and I always said, I'm not saying I don't know the chief, I don't know what he did or what he didn't do, but when as a someone that has sense, when I look at the case, I'm like, does this really worth firing at the time that it happened?
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's up to the mayor to decide.
That's
But
right.
when we look at the time we're coming out of pandemic, is that what we really want to lay emphasis on? And the fact that if this was similar to the writer's case, I can understand
Right.
because
Right.
that was a really terrible situation. But this was based on an officer in the precinct. This has nothing to do with the civilian. It
That's right.
wasn't like, oh, they were ganging on a group of people or ransacking. I can understand that. But the fact
Right.
that this was an internal issue and there was a private, there was an independent oversight that was looking at it, wait for their recommendation. And their recommendation was the chief did not have anything to do with the mishandling of this particular officer.
Exactly.
You do. So for me, again, if he is somebody that understands what it's gonna look like, he will make a better decision. And guess what? If you did decide to fire the police chief, why didn't we get somebody else immediately? Why did we
That's
have to
right.
wait a whole year? And when you look at how that happened, then you realize that okay, this has to do with how this person does not understand how the city is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if a president goes in now and you start fighting with your defense minister, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
They
the
wanted to
rest of the
finish.
country is going to look at you as like you're defenseless. And that's what
They
happened to
want.
Oakland. When we didn't have a police chief, all these knucklehead outside of Oakland realized that we do not have a defense. So they came
Well,
in
they wanted Oakland to fail. They
and,
wanted it to fail.
I mean,
It's a
that's all you
setup.
can articulate it to, because mind you, during the pandemic, because there was nobody in downtown, all the police officers, the little that we have, were shifted to the neighborhood, to the east, to the north, to the west. So when all of this happening, we do not have any police officer on the ground to even stop anybody from breaking in to their door. I walk down from Jack London to 27th once a week, just as a way to just get myself, acclimated what's going on. I did not see one police officer. And from what the records show right now, there's 35 police officers on duty at any given hour for a city of over 400,000 citizens. That's not acceptable.
That's horrible. God.
Yeah.
They want the city to fail. It's a plan. It's a setup.
And
Yeah.
Zenny, I always say, as a black man, I understand our struggle with police. I understand our distrust with the police. However, I also understand their presence being a sense of knucklehead not being knuckleheads. It's a
Right.
deterrent. Police will never solve. Police is not the reason. Police are not there to reduce crime. They are there to respond to crimes. The
Yeah.
way we reduce crime is really getting ahead by engaging our youth. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
they said it's easy to raise a strong man, but it's hard to put together a broken man.
That's right.
Real quick, I just got to go downstairs and check on my mom. I'll
Okay.
be right back. But Michelle, pick it up. Hey, I got a question for everybody.
Okay.
How much of your being in the race had to do with Carol Fife? I'll leave it right there. Okay.
Okay.
You can start without me. I'll be right back. I just need to check on her. I'll be
Okay.
right back. All right.
I was, of course, not knowing anyone else in the race at the time. I mean, Carol has been the leader of our district, and I certainly had my challenges. And it's well documented me at the council because of just the desperation that I not only felt as a small owner, but advocating for other small owners. That was really my singular issue for a long time. And then when I started to, and I was still not supposed to be in the race. I was going to manage my friend who ended up not running, and that's Derek Johnson. And so once he didn't get in the race, and as I started hearing and listening to what the candidates, the issues that the candidates were speaking to in particular, I felt like, this is not it. Nobody's speaking to me, that was running, and so to say that, yeah, of course, I think it's obvious that and I'll say this, these things and these issues are so much bigger than even our current council member or even the member before, because at this particular point, I'm so brokenhearted at how not only the city leadership treats its residents, but how they treat each other. And I think that the next council and even with our mayor, the mayor, she would have had more life experience, she could have had the discernment to determine if whether or not because once you get into, and it's something that I've even had to reckon with, but once you take political sides and you become a part of they have a part of them that voted together all the time, and you have to know, you have to be able to be independent enough, and sometimes you can't even give in to some of the people closest to you because you have to make a good decision for the city. And
That's
I
right.
think that being not having that kind of life experience and probably leaning on people for advice. Because I mean, I when I was 36 or 34, I will give her this. Certainly wouldn't have had the kahungas to be running for mayor. You know, I was still thought I was going to be the next Diana Ross. Certainly, you know, I wasn't thinking about no mayor. I was trying to be my
Right.
you know, shit.
Right.
I was like, you know, trying to hit my high notes, you know, upside down. You know, so I give her kudos for ambition, but you also have to, one of the things that comes with not having enough life experience and or not maybe being personally suited for a role in this kind of position is that you also have to be able to to admit when you didn't get it right.
Yep.
Yep.
Accountability.
There is no, you have to, because there is strength in admitting weakness.
Oh, yes.
There
Yes,
is
it is.
strength in admitting that you don't have all the answers, because
That's it.
this is a train rolling out of control. It's rolling completely down out of the station. And would we expect this one person, this young lady that hasn't lived half of the time any of us have been here, would we expect her to have all the answers? No, but what we would expect her to do is tell us that. And then also say, hey, I'm open to all suggestions. And in addition, have the humility to potentially know that for whatever the reason, I guess we're going to learn more about the case with the former police captain, but he asked for his job back.
Mm-hmm.
Why not have the humility? Now, I mean, I don't know this new chief, but this gentleman had enough courage after being fired and humiliated and being
To
fired,
ask for it
something he
back.
wanted his whole life. He asked for his job back, if not just for the sake alone of avoiding a $7 million or $10 million lawsuit payout. I mean, you know, it comes a time where you have to start looking and thinking about the city and making these decisions because they're not personal. And I feel that what has happened so much that I see in the council, and even when I've went to some of the meetings, is that there's so much personal animus that when people don't like each other and they have these personality defects, that it's easy for them to make really bad decisions just to get back at somebody, or to not give someone something or services that they need because they're mad. I mean, we had one council person speak up about that. The other is that I will say that we know that the city was also closed because all of them was running for election of some sort. Shane, to me, the extended stay on the moratorium, Shane was running for mayor. Lauren was running for mayor. Rebecca was running for supervisor. Nikki was running for re-election. Most of the council was running for election. They didn't want to come back to work. They were campaigning. They were building their campaigns. So they were so selfish that they let city center and downtown suffer because they wanted to spend more time on their campaigns. And now we're all left to pick up the pieces. And, you know, who sends a message? And now this national message of even defunding the police and then demoralizing your police departments all across the country, to where now police departments all across the country have similar output such as we do. In large urban cities, there's just not enough officers because they're human too.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
all of that was the target on their backs.
Yeah, they're human too, and so I mean, it's only so much anybody can take. So
I'm gonna have to get on the next minute. I have to go into another meeting in the next.
Right ahead. I didn't mean to hog up everything. I just go ahead.
Hopefully when Zenny come back, let's wrap it up because me too.
We all have all got to make moves. Yeah.
So yeah.
You go right ahead, Shan.
Oh, what was the question
The
again?
Well,
question was, did how much did Carol Fife have to do with you getting in the race?
I think Carol had a lot to do with me getting in the race because, first of all, I knew all the people that was involved with her with the mom for housing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know Misty, I know Mr. Nash. I kind of know a couple of the women's. And, once they all told me their story or their sides, and I tried to reach out to her and speak to Carol, and I asked Carol to let me be over District 3 in this area. And she had asked me to do a march in District 3. And she had told me, that her husband writes grants. He could write me a grants, give her a budget of everything that I needed. And when I gave her a budget, um, then she was just like, don't call my phone no more. Don't do this. Don't do that. The people in District 3 asking me, what happened to the march? What are we going to do? This, that, and the other. And I was like, it's over. She stopped answering my phone calls. She stopped answering my texts. So, I said, somebody said, well, Shan, won't you run? So that would made me have a lot to do with the running of her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I understand she had a lot. She had a lot to do with me running because I wasn't gonna run. But after
Mm-hmm.
all that I went through, and I tried to communicate with her and I tried to talk to her. I don't care what she tell people that everybody is disliking her or people don't like her or people say this or people. I don't have anything against Carol. Nothing at all. I just wanted to do business and take care of District 3. That was my main focus. And I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just like you, Michelle, I think it wasn't so much about her as a person. It's just that we need to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked at every single council member that are there. It's the whole collective, to be quite honest. And I'm coming from someone that has been investing and still investing in downtown and saying, hey, why aren't we having a business minded person that can understand this this part of the city? And I think
Mm-hmm.
when I look at the background of Carol or be Janeni or be, you know, um, even the longest or Dan Cobb or every one of them, I just saw a lot of similarity from
Yeah.
the nonprofit world, advocacy,
Sorry.
advocacy space. You know, I didn't really see I didn't see council members that are business savvy,
Mm-hmm.
people that are that understand how. I just don't see it. So it's not particularly as Carol per se. It was more of like I think the this district in particular need a business minded person that can really articulate what we need in terms of youth, what we need in terms of business. How does affordable housing play a part? How does market rate housing play a part? And I will add one thing that I was going to say before. When you look at for affordable housing, I think it's a scam. I think
Mm-hmm.
housing is a scam in the sense that even when the houses are built, it requires so much to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for so many years you need money to run them. So, and this is why I come up with the minimum housing initiative that I'm hoping that whoever wins is able to really make this happen. And the way that is why are we linking affordable housing to average income income, because we all know, anybody know mathematics, that average means if the top goes up, the average go up,
Yep.
right? If the bottom go up, the average go up. But we all know the bottom doesn't go up.
All
We
right.
know the top goes up.
All right.
So for me, the metrics does not really work. And given that housing is an essential commodity, for humans to survive, we need to make
All
it the
right.
base. So I'm introducing minimum housing that's linked minimum affordable housing to minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
The price goes up when the minimum wage goes up, and I can guarantee you, you will see how fast minimum wage is going to go up. Because
Mm-hmm.
so this is what I find out, and this is what I think. This is the way I think we need to go. So saying that is to say, we all right. Saying that is to say that we need to stop electing people that come from these backgrounds that doesn't really speak to the spectrum of what the District 3 is about. For me,
Yeah.
as a business owner, as a business minded, I always tell people this: I want a market rate, I want affordable, because I want bodies in Oakland. More people we have in Oakland means my business have an opportunity to survive, because that means foot traffic. So for me as a business owner, I actually want everything to happen. I want schools to keep opening, because there's a lot of businesses that feed into schools. Talking about people that are doing, if it's selling, back to school program and all of that. So for me, it's not so much about Carol, it's so much about everybody in that city hall. Their background is not suited. I'm not saying you cannot have one and two, but you cannot have 7 people with similar background. And that's where I come in.
Hey,
So
Mace, I'm sorry, go ahead. Mace, if you don't know who, this is really Leanna Powell. Leanna Powell's the young lady that I interviewed whose rights were violated by Mayor Tal before she was Mayor Tal, actually when she was city council member. And she writes, I know about the neglect of the city work firsthand. The mayor and her team were consumed with their own campaign and slandered her colleagues. Most toxic work environment. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody that tunes in, and such as I have and attended many council meetings, it is obvious of how much they dislike each other. And I don't know how you lead. How you lead is how can you lead a city when its leadership dislikes each other? I mean,
yes,
and I
I'm glad,
also no. Go ahead.
Michelle, I'm glad you brought that up, because right now that's what's happening. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said earlier, everybody think this is between Carol and Warren, and it's because it's the two divided uh possible, the two divided sides. And that's why I believe that we need to elect somebody that doesn't come from that toxic environment.
But
We
hey, I
need
have
to
to
elect.
ask you, Baba, and both of you, and Shan, if she comes back, why don't you all teaming up? Because famously, I remember when Don Parada was running. I think y'all know old enough to remember,
Yeah.
or right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone thought it was a shoo-in he was going to be a mayor. And I remember the next day after the first run of ranked choice votes, for the first time it was done, right?
It was the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, and my buddy John Russo, I was city attorney at the time, because we always would have these things about elections and stuff. And anyway, he was saying, well, Don Parada is our mayor, and the only possible challenger to her that is Jean Quan, because of the number of second place votes. And he said the only way she's going to do that if she's got all the second place and third place votes, and that ain't going to happen. And then it happened. And John called me and said, Zinni, take that video down. It's wrong. I said, are you kidding? You're a genius. I'm leaving it out.
Well,
But ranked
as
choice
far as
voting had to happen because Rebecca and Jean, who, by the way, has this video out that I'm pushing because it should be known that Jean made the speech around that time saying that Chinese were the best read, the most read of everybody, ethnicity. She said that in a video to a Chinese group in downtown Oakland. And I'm thinking, if she were white, that would have been all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
That come out of her mouth. Anyway, point I'm making is that Jean and Rebecca went all over town saying, "Hey, look, vote for her. Vote. You know, if you want to vote for me, vote for her." Why aren't you guys doing that?
Well, we have all, the three of us have been pretty united because we have, I mean, like with my mother, Baba, he calls and he's like, "How's mama?" And then with Shan, and I mean, we already really became family. The three of us have been extremely supportive to each other. It has gotten so, it actually has been, and I can even let Baba speak to this, but the others, we without our participation or knowledge, we've been used on two slate cards, one for Warren and then one for Carol. I think Carol beat him to the point, but but on both accords, it's not something that we were asked to collaborate on. It was just done. And I know, and I know that's politics. It's okay, it is what it is. But we where that I think we do advocate for each other, of course. And I actually think that it would be amazing to have someone like Baba in the seat because of his
Thank you.
business acumen. And I think that would be amazing for the city. And then, but we and I'll let Baba speak to this to how it's.
Yeah, I mean, the
Go ahead.
the reality is that I always use King Folk as a pivotal moment for all of us because that was the first time to see all of us as that was the first time I'm meeting Michelle too. And I left that conversation. We started our friendship on that day because I felt like everybody on that forum have something to bring in. She's speaking from a small landlord perspective. A part of my life that I've actually forgotten because I become a small landlord when I was like 28, 29, and I didn't like it because I got a mortgage that was like 3,500 and some change, and I could not increase the rent of my tenants because the city ordinance say I cannot because it was the building was, which is fine. But if I had known that I cannot do that, I wouldn't have signed up for a 3,500 mortgage. And so imagine as a young man, that really dampers my dream to
Right.
own a property. 2 years later, I have to short sell that home. So that's just
But
me.
see, Baba, that's what I'm getting at. If we had an active economic development organization that recognized that landlords are businesses too, right?
It is business.
We would have had a subsidy program where we could subsidize those fixes for you, where you wouldn't have to, raise the rent. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
thinking, what's going on with these folks in their
And let
heads?
me on my platform, they have something called the impact fee. I'm sure you guys are aware
Oh,
of this.
oh
Do
yeah.
you know the city accessed about 90 million of that, and they've only collected 27 million?
Say that
So
again.
they assessed 97 million of impact fee from 2017 to 2003. They've only
It's kind of
collected 21
lost.
million. So
From
they
what I
have 60
understand,
million
no,
dollars on the table. So
What'd you
from
say,
what
what?
I
Michelle?
understand, nobody knows where it is.
No. So, Zeni, one of the things that I'm proposing on my platform is we need to redirect that money to
I'll
support
find it. I'll find it.
support small landlords and support renters.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that money is not even enough to really build affordable housing. They're lying if they said it's not enough. So the best thing to do is to use it to support the existing landlords, small landlord in particular. And the way I frame it is if you have 4 units and below, or 6 units and below, you can access that. So your tenant is moving out, you need to, we can subsidize that. These are ways that we need to start doing things to create a sustainable space. So as somebody that have that experience, I understand when I speak to a small landlord like Michelle, I'm like, I know what your pinpoint is. And I know what we need to do to rectify that because at the end of the day, they make all these big landlords seem like they're the one that have all the property in Oakland. That may be now, but not 5, 6 years ago.
Right.
When you get, and the reason why small landlords sold to them in the first place is because they cannot survive under the system that we've created. Oakland have so much policies that landlords would rather have their building empty than have people in it. We all, we clamor about, a lot of units are open, they're not renting. I'm like, yes, because why would they want to rent when their building is built before 1985 and it cannot be on section, what do you call it? It's going to be under rent control. And the reason why is because between 1985 to now, we have pass-through taxes that when you count all of them, it's over $600 to $1,000 that they have to pay for. They're not exempt to say, okay, because your building is built before 1985, you don't have to pay this pass-through tax. There is a lot of $145 pass-through tax that accumulate to close to $1,000 that they have to pay after insurance, after mortgage. These are the things that people don't understand.
Yeah, and with inflation, and look at Measure NN that's being proposed. That was proposed by the McConnell group. That measure that's to replace the sunsetting Measure Z or Y, but that that particular measure, if passed, is going to be $98 per parcel, and then $98 per unit. And then $68 per unit if you have more than 4 units.
And
hey,
these
y'all,
are
I want to share this real quick. Check this. I just got this in the mail. It was posted 5 hours ago, but it just came a few minutes ago. Goodbye, Oakland. And he writes, Seymour, after a decade longer for my wife, we're being forced to move out due to ongoing crime and safety issues in Lakeside and downtown. It is a heartbreaking decision that we're still processing because to some extent it feels like a betrayal to the town. We really tried to be patient and resilient, but everybody has a limit, and this year we reached it. Just this morning, while grabbing a coffee in downtown with my daughter, strapped to my chest, a guy just pulled down his pants and urinated right next to us. All decency has been lost. I can only chuckle, but also feel a sense of relief. This won't be our day to day. It wasn't always like this. Sure wasn't. Again, we're still processing. P.S. As a farewell gift, we voted to recall Shangtao and Pamela Price because they've neglected their duties and shattered our town. Hopefully, capable, passionate, and pragmatic elected officials are on the horizon for Oakland. I just had to share that with you all. Yeah. So I think Michelle will be back with us.
Yeah. And that's kind of
what we're talking about, though,
And mind you, for every one of those posts, there's 100 that's not posting.
Yeah.
That's the way I always look at it.
Good point.
When you see one problem, treat it like there's 100 people. It's like when they talk about there's a beautiful song that I know that's called Fire on the Mountain.
Yeah.
There is how it starts, and people don't pay attention to it until they see the actual fire. And this is what's happening in Oakland. And for me, I did a really critical analysis of every single person that's on that council. And I'm like, if these people continue like this, we're going to end up in 4 years talk about this again. And I don't want that to happen. Unfortunately,
Zany, this is the other thing is what gets me is the more housing we add, we have not added any large businesses. We don't have, hey, Rocket Mortgage is going to employ 3,000 people, right?
They left. I mean, I'm sure you remember Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
They left. And here's the thing. I did, when I was in grad school, I did a case study on Walmart. I can tell you that I don't like their model, but we all know he employs.
Right.
And if you look at what could happen, mind you, in that area, you lost the Raiders. And I tell people, I was like, the underground transaction that's going up keep family afloat so they don't spill on the street.
Yeah.
Trust me, people are selling merchandise and selling whatever they need to sell, making $2,000-$3,000 on every single time Raiders play or Ace plays or Warriors plays, that they're able to feed their family or whatever they need to feed.
And you know what? And Baba, the people who are the most vocal and who have these, whatever they call them, news organizations, nonprofit, ha ha ha, they say, well, oh, you don't want them to have those jobs at the Coliseum. But I remember I talked to a young woman, when I was covering the Raiders Cardinals preseason game in 2015, and she told me that she was headed to the Warriors game after this, and the great thing about having the sports complex is she could cobble together an 8-hour job that was fun because she loves sports. She loved helping people, right? And she was making some money and good tip money doing it. And we let all that go because, oh, well, we don't want to spend the money. And the whole point is it wasn't a matter of spending the money. It's about understanding the financing so that we're not doing it. And they always say, what about the first deal? The first deal we didn't do the right way. That doesn't mean you stop doing deals.
You know what, you guys? I gotta run and go get Mama.
Oh, okay.
But you know what? This was really good. I think we should pick this back up. I'm sure people really love this conversation. I have enjoyed myself immensely.
Well, Michelle,
and
real quick, what do you? I'm going to ask you, and then we'll all close out on fairness to.
Okay.
What do we do about sports? Because y'all have no. Let me ask it a different way. It's more concentrate on District 3. What do you think of the Oakland Ballers?
I mean, I can go. I think it's good for the community right now. We need something to hold on to. The only challenge is, would they make it to MLS? Because as somebody that's preview to sports in Europe, sport in Africa, and sport in like the United Arab Emirates, the problem in sports in America is a franchise. So that means if the MLB does not let them into their league, then we don't have a national team.
Yeah.
All we have is a semi-pro. So, and can that draw the type of attention that we need as a city is a problem. The question that I know you want to ask, that what do we do about sports? To me, we need to start preparing ourselves for extended teams. NBA is going to extend. MLB is going to extend. The soccer MLS is going to extend. The ice hockey is going to extend. A lot of people, I'm sure you know, Zany, and I'm sure you probably know too, Michelle. The San Jose Hurricane used to be the Oakland Seals. Right? There was when I tell people this, they was like, "What? Oakland have a ice hockey team?" I'm like, "Yeah." The Oakland Seals were the first ice hockey in the Bay Area that becomes San Jose Sharks. So for me, as a city council, I'm going to be looking at how can we position Oakland to receive all this extended team and get into the conversation now and get ourselves ready to be extended team. That's where I think our opportunity is going to lie.
Yeah. Michelle, your thoughts as you take us for a ride?
I think that there's a possibility from what I hear in terms of baseball, the current commissioner is not going to put a team back in Oakland. But I think that not is a big word. If we could get real adults in the room and get really good leadership, I think that we could, there's opportunities for basketball teams that are wanting to leave and be in a beautiful city like this. There's talks. I was reading about another team that is they're considering moving. I can't think of the name of it, but there's plenty of opportunity. But
the Devil Rays need to helm of the Rays, brother.
Yeah, but the first thing that has to happen is that we've got to get adults back in the room. Right now, this is, to be perfectly honest, when Derek Johnson was running, and we were having conversations about Howard Terminal, and I myself just looked at the Howard Terminal deal and I thought, well, we missed the opportunity, because the one thing that people didn't really, that I thought was, and no one paid attention to, was that the Fisher had lost half of his wealth. The Gap, through the stock market, the Gap, the Levi's, all not Levi, but the Gap and Old Navy, all of those in that particular moment in time, they were devaluing fast. At one point they thought they were going to have to shed the Old Navies altogether. So I think there was a point in time where he probably, one, wanted to do it, two, had the money to do it. But then when you start to have it turn and spiral into this kind of situation where you think about, you have $1 billion franchise, and do you want to invest $1 billion in what looks to be like not good leadership? I mean,
I think, if I may, Michelle, what
sure.
happened, because I'm the one who said I'm all in favor of the A's moving to Las Vegas, and I wrote that November 21st of 2021. And the reason why I did was because, first of all, I was the person who came up with the idea of using tax increment financing. I talked to Dave Cobble about it April 4th, 2017 at 4:00 in the afternoon with Miguel, his assistant, as our witness. And I sent to him a spreadsheet I calculated for, throw off with increment. Long story short, the mayor got signed into law by Gavin October 11th, 2019. And at the time, the ballpark was supposed to be privately financed, which means what? They pay a property tax, okay? And so if you just take $2 billion from us as the value for the ballpark alone, and at a 4% rate of growth in assessed value or a 45-year period, we're looking at $1,600,000,000 in bondable tax increment financing revenue. But here's the catch. The city hired a company called Century Urban. I've done tax increment revenue calculations for 37 years, 38 now. Century Urban used only 20 of the 45-year bonding period, which means less money. So they came up with 400 million. And I'm saying, what the heck? So I'm telling Lauren, who was the council member, during the whole forum, we're talking about the term sheet, and you were yelling at each other. I'm calling him a damn fool. And I'm saying, why do you think that the number they have is right? Because they're the consultant. I said, excuse me? Because they're a consultant, they're white. You think they're right? And I have 37 years of experience. I made a spreadsheet, and you don't even know the calculation, okay? And you're riding with this, all right? We left money on the table that could be used, like we used to use redevelopment to form the gap between what our workers needed to make, right? And what they were pulling down. So we didn't have them running off and everything. We were able to balance our budget. That's how we used to do things, okay? But then the city let Jerry kill that. Then Jerry brought the son of redevelopment back in 2015 under SB 628 Beal. We've never used it since then. We're crowing about affordable housing. We could have had billions of dollars of revenue for it collectively, and just from Howard Terminal alone, if we had done it on time. The project manager they hired, Molly Rayburn, didn't know how to do it at all. Betsy Lake didn't know how to do it, and then Molly puts on her LinkedIn, oh, I'm so happy to work with my old friend. I said, your old friend? You mean you got hired because you're her friend? You don't know anything about this stuff? I mean, this stuff is nuts, okay? So the bottom line is the money that the A's needed to do all of this stuff, they never got. And they said, let's go to Vegas because we don't need it. And that's what happened. I guess Michelle got cut off. But the whole point is, but that's what happened. We have, and get this, Baba.
Yeah, where's that?
The mayor had commissioned a backup study to form an enhanced infrastructure financing district, and you start with the infrastructure financing plan, right? I found that buried in the database of The Athletic online. I downloaded it, went through the report. They had said, oh, now we have a $5 billion tax increment revenue that we can draw from, right? But they did it at a 2% rate of growth estimate. Do you know what the average rate of growth for our area of Jack London and Alameda County is? At 6.3%. So I could do as a 4% calculation. They left $4 billion on the table, man. $4 billion, which means it's supposed to be $9 billion, but these bozos used a 2% increase. Okay, I'm serious. They left money on the table that you know how much $9 billion of bondable revenue can go? $9 freaking billion. All right, and that's based on, because the A's were gonna. This goes beyond the total thing. The $2 billion. The A's were projecting, if they had built out everything to that $12 billion level. I said to Dave Cobble when he announced it was going to be $12 billion. I said, Dave, did you remember to add the tax increment for it? I got silence. I said, I'll do it for you. It's $9.7 billion, dude. Tell them. You could take half that and you could solve the affordable housing problem overnight. Over freaking night, dude. We don't know what we're doing, and we don't care either. And it's like, oh, that's just Zenny talking. But these people don't have to do math at all to save their lives, let alone ours. This is a joke, man.
I hear you. We're gonna get there. Thank you, Danny, for having us over. Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
I'll see
Bye.
you. Right.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay, see you. Folks, that ends the stream. We'll be up, but we're going to do another one of these. That was Michelle Hadley's idea. As you can tell, great conversations, great candidates. Make sure you vote if you haven't voted already, and subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark OaklandNewsOnline.com and ZennyReport.com. That ends this broadcast. We'll see you.